Hey guys, this is Glenn and Jeff, and today we're checking out the brand new Reebok Zig Kinetica 2. Here we go. Alright, first up, major thanks to Reebok for sending these in. If you guys like what you're seeing so far, don't forget to hit the like button right below and maybe consider subscribing because it would be massively appreciated. And if you're into sneaker photos, don't forget to hit me up on Instagram at ClintonJeff. The most underrated GR sneaker of 2020 had to have been the Reebok Zig Kinetica. That was a gorgeous shoe. It looked great, it was really comfortable, and it built upon the history of Reebok from their Zig days. So I was a huge fan of the silhouette. And man, did Reebok do a great job with them. There was the Concept Type 1, which was a really cool take on the silhouette. And then there was the Zig Kinetica that dropped in partnership with Conor McGregor. Unfortunately, while all the reviews of the shoe was pretty positive, and anyone you know who bought the shoe probably loves it, it just didn't make that much of an impact. From my observation, I feel like this is down to the fact that they had a really strange rollout for the shoe. The Concept Type 1 dropped first and nobody knew much about it or the story behind it. And then like a month later, the Zig Kinetica dropped. And then there was a Concept Type 2, and then there was a Zig Kinetica Horizon. Plus with the pandemic and everything, it was a great shoe, but it just didn't get enough hype. Still, it must have done well enough though, because here we are with the Zig Kinetica 2. The Reebok Zig Kinetica 2 dropped on February 1st for a price of $120 in the US. They dropped here in Malaysia this April, and you can find them at Stadium, Royal Sporting Goods and other stores where Reebok is sold. In case this is the first time that you're hearing about Reebok's Zig line of shoes, the Zig system started out way back in 2010 when Reebok released their first sneaker with the Zig Tech design called the Reebok Zig Pulse. These sneakers came in a whole bunch of colorways. Reebok even started advertising them along with Lewis Hamilton to really show off how cool these new Zig Tech sneakers were. Reebok got a whole bunch of celebrities on board with the Zig Pulse, so the sneakers had a bit of buzz around them. However, as popular as they were at the time, we never really did hear much about them since then. Fast forward to today, almost a decade since the first Zig sneaker launched, the Zig Tech makes a return in the form of the Zig Kinetica series. Admittedly, I love the aggressive vibe of the shoe. Alright, with a history lesson out of the way, let's check out the shoe. The Zig Kinetica 2 is meant to be a daily activity shoe, and you can kind of tell that from its design. But it's also meant to be an everyday lifestyle shoe, and it's cool enough that you could actually wear them as everyday sneakers as well. And with the 2, there's been some very interesting new design tweaks applied versus the first model. Starting with the upper, there's a new skeletal structure, in Reebok's words. That's a stripped down version of what we saw in the first model. As a result, it isn't quite as chunky as the first Zig Kinetica. Reebok sent us the black and orangish red colorway, which is similar to the launch colorway of the previous Zig. But this time around, there's some really awesome other launch colorways as well, including a grey, white and blue model, a black, blue and white model, and a slightly purple version, a slightly blue version, and even a version that uses recycled materials. And a ton more colorways, which all have their own versions of the skeletal kind of design on the upper, while the Zig unit is in another color. Regardless of the colorways, you have to admit that this is one of the best looking Reebok shoes in a while. Continuing with the upper, it's made out of a breathable mesh, like you'd expect out of any pair of fitness shoes. It's a combination of transparent TPU mesh and synth suede underlays with this 3D gradient-like print on top. At first glance, I wasn't really sure whether these would be very breathable, just because the material used in the construction of the upper looks thick, but it actually turned out to be mesh material for good ventilation. Thankfully, Reebok did a pretty good job here, and you can see these tiny little ventilation holes around the upper to help. The mesh material keeps the airflow consistent, allowing cool air to come in as you move your feet. Towards the top is an interesting lacing system that moves through these light green and black lacing eyelets on the upper and allow for a nicely snug fit. You get a pair of black rope laces here, which look pretty good on this colorway. Underneath the laces, you'll see this well-padded separate tongue that has these ventilation holes at the bottom and then splits towards the top area. You'll notice this rubbery edge, which also happens to be on the collar of the shoe as well. This feels very similar to the tongue and collar of the previous Zig. It's not uncomfortable, but not super comfortable either. And you'll want to wear at least ankle-length socks with these, or they can get annoying rubbing up against your ankles. Coming to the inside of the shoe, there's a soft single layer microfiber layer at the heel, along with plenty of padding to keep this area comfortable and prevent any heel slippage. At the bottom there's black insoles with a Zig logo on the right pair and the Reebok Vector logo on the left pair, both in that neon green color. Coming to the back of the shoe, you'll notice that the waves kind of congregate towards this little padded Y-shaped structure that goes around the back of the heel. There's also this little pull tab with the Reebok Vector logo in that green color. The pull tab is really tiny, so I'm not sure why they did that, but it's there. Towards the bottom, you'll notice that the Zig outsole unit extends up the back of the shoe with the Zig branding here as well. That's about it for the upper, but let's talk about the most interesting element of the shoe, the midsole. That entire upper rests on a full-length Floatride Fuel midsole that's encased in an EVA shell. But what's interesting here is that unlike the first Zig Kinetica, the zigzag TPU shell here doesn't encase the full entire midsole, and that entire midsole isn't just Floatride Fuel. Instead here you can see that this TPU panel on the side that kind of joins the upper to the midsole, but also holds your foot into place so that your foot doesn't spill over the midsole while you're moving around. Sort of similar to the nugs on an Adidas NMD. This was done to shave some weight off the Zig Kinetica 2 to make it slightly lighter than the previous version, though it's still somewhat a heavy sneaker. Underneath that you have the TPU Zig Energy Shell, which this time around seems to be the Floatride Fuel foam, shaped into a zigzag pattern. This shell, along with the Floatride Fuel, is supposed to really help return kinetic energy as you walk. It's also really wide, so your foot is very secure and stable in these shoes, and this will definitely help prevent any ankle rollover. But that's not all. Towards the forefoot, there's actually a Floatride Energy foam drop-in within the Floatride Fuel foam, which is supposed to help with an even more responsive ride. Coming to the bottom of the shoe, there's a black rubber outsole here. With the Reebok Zig Energy band's tread pattern, you can actually see this little window into the Floatride Energy drop-in, which is in the forefoot area. Kind of sort of looking very boost-like over here. Towards the back, you'll see the Reebok Vector logo right on the Floatride Fuel midsole, while the outsole expands onto the midsole at the back. The way the Zig Energy bands stretch and snap back, kind of like an elastic band, is supposed to help return energy with every step that you take. And yeah, that's about it in terms of design. Coming to fit and sizing, these actually do fit very similar to the first Zig Kinetica. In terms of fit, once you slip your foot into the Zig Kinetica, you'll feel the plush all-around cushioning immediately, which is a good thing. There's no rough elements or hard patches that rub up against your foot. It's just a very comfortable plush sneaker, and the reinforcements in the design really seem to have helped Reebok ensure a comfortable yet very secure fit. These fit very true to size even with my wide feet, so you don't feel cramped in the Zig Kinetica. A big reason for this comfort is the midsole and the outsole. The midsole is made out of Reebok's Floatride Fuel cushioning with a Zig Energy shell around it. Floatride Fuel cushioning is already present on a bunch of Reebok shoes, and I'm quite a fan of it. It has a great plush amount of cushioning with a decent amount of responsiveness as well. As a result, these do feel more responsive than most other shoes with Floatride Fuel. That I feel is because of the stretchable Zig Energy band outsole, coupled with the interesting design of the Zig Energy shell. The shell here frames the midsole foam, while the Zig Energy band expands and contracts through each stride that you take, giving you a spring-like push forward with every step that you take. It's a very different feeling than an Adidas Ultra Boost or Nike's React foam, but there's a decent amount of responsiveness with a good amount of comfort as well. The Floatride Fuel cushioning isn't exactly the most lush in terms of comfort. These are performance training sneakers after all. The cushioning, along with the outsole and the overall design, is really meant to propel you forward towards workouts instead. Just like the Ultra Boost 21, the outsole here is U-shaped, so the sneaker positions you to lean forwards. Like I mentioned with the cushioning earlier, the Zig Energy shell, or the zigzag portion of the outsole, together with the Floatride Fuel cushioning inside, is a lot sturdier than the Boost outsole on the Ultra Boost, so it's not quite as comfy. Alright guys, we're all out of the way. Let's take a look at the Reebok Zig Kinetica 2 on feet. That was the Reebok Zig Kinetica 2. After trying them out for a week, I really do feel like these make for great everyday gym sneakers, just like the previous model. Just slip these on and you know that they'll handle anything you throw at them. Not necessarily outdoor long distance running though, because you might want a lighter shoe for that. As an everyday gym sneaker, I can definitely recommend picking these up. They look great, they're durable and comfortable, and Reebok has done a great job improving on an already great shoe. Unlike the first version, I don't think that you'll be stopped by strangers to ask what shoe you're wearing with these. But at the end of the day, these are actually my favorite Reebok everyday performance sneakers this year. Reebok has been killing it lately, and I really hope that you guys check these out, because the Zig Kinetica 2 is just a solid everyday lifestyle shoe that's also solid enough that you could use them in the gym. But that's just what I think about the Zig Kinetica 2. I'm really interested to know what you guys think about these shoes. Are these worth checking out, or did you like last year's model more? Let me know right in the comment section below. Of course, if you want to see more photos of the Reebok Zig Kinetica 2, you can check them out over on my Instagram account and maybe give me a follow at ClintonJeff. And hey, if this video was helpful and you want to support the channel, don't forget to hit the like button right below and maybe subscribe, because that would be massively appreciated. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you in the next one.